Uh, there's a challenge for me to say what. Tell us what was the most difficult. What was the most challenging to set up in the DesertBus 2017 setup, technological wise?
I think it was really just. Wait, I was going to say laying out the room was difficult.
Nope.
But it really wasn't. It was just time consuming.
Yeah, I would say the cameras. We had plans for how the cameras were going to work, and it turns out we have about 10. We have access to about 10 really nice, good quality cameras, and we needed 6.
So that seems pretty good. We only need 60% of our cameras.
7?
7.
Yeah,
7.
we needed 7, and so we were like, that should be fine.
We have those.
Yeah, we have those. But the problem we ran into is that the switcher that we're using right now, which is the Blackmagic ATEM TV Studio, if you care. Well, presumably because you made the challenge, you do care.
Yeah.
One of its quirks that is rather frustrating is that all the inputs into it have to be the same resolution and frame rate and progressive or interlace. Like it,
Because it doesn't upscale the match.
they have to be all the same format,
Right.
which is quite frustrating. And we realized that while all our cameras are very high quality, some of them are a little older, and the older ones can't do. The range of resolutions that they can do is not as wide, so they can't do like 60 frames a second progressive at 1080. And we realized after doing some experimentation that took way too long that we needed 7 cameras, and we had basically 5 that could work on one system and 5 that could work on the other system. And we didn't actually have 7 cameras that would work. And so Johnny had to actually go back to Nanaimo overnight on the Tuesday before DesertBus started, come back with 2 extra cameras that we're borrowing from Vancouver Island University. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And in order to do the thing. So it's very frustrating because Blackmagic as a company has a lot of very high tech stuff, including multiple products that like they have the technology to do cross format resampling and changing and stuff. Like that's not that hard to do in a device.
Yeah.
Like it's not trivial, but it is definitely something you could do. And you would think in a device that's designed to take in 8 different inputs in both SDI and HDMI from a variety of sources, that being able to take in sources of different types or of different resolutions and different frame rates would be something that they would be like, hey, why don't we put the thing that we already have another box that does into this as well? And it's weird because even if you buy like this is a comparatively low end switcher from Blackmagic, but even their like $5,000 one can't do that. Yeah, they have like another box that costs like $3,000 that you can get to do that'll do like one convert it. So anyway, it's very annoying because it shouldn't be that hard. And so that was something that that was what I would be considered to be the most challenge. So that kind of pushed everything back because we spent way too long setting that up, and so we got behind in the sense that we were expecting to be done the physical setup and just moving on to actually getting the software and the kinks worked out.
Yeah.
And we ended up working on the actual just making the cameras work for way longer than we were hoping for.
A mistake that we made this year was because we're doing it back in the MoonBase, we got, I don't want to say like full of it or like cocky, but we're doing it here, which means we probably need less time to set up.
Because
So
all the tech is already here.
All the tech is here. We don't need to move everything. We don't need to worry about a new space. We know what the space is going to look like. So we didn't really start setting up truly until Monday. And normally we generally start setting up on the Saturday. So we actually didn't. We gave ourselves 2 less days this year of proper setup time. And if we hadn't have done that, which to be fair, I'm not entirely sure how we would have required a lot different scheduling because we were still working.
Yeah.
Loading ready run stuff on Saturday, we probably would not have been in such a big hurry.
Yeah.
We would have figured out the camera things on the weekend, and then come back on Monday and been like, all right, we got this fixed. So maybe next year we go back to the full week basically of.
Well, now we know what the problem is, though.
And we'll never have
so
another
it'll be
problem
perfect.
like it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the other fun thing that was something that I ran into.
Thank you. That's the word.
Was that we have, as you know from if you've watched our streams and stuff, we have a variety of we have different computers here to do streams. We have 3 different computers that do our streams depending on what room the stream is happening in and stuff. And the most powerful one, because it's the newest, is the one that is normally here in Studio C. Because it's in the new system, and it has and so we're like, okay, we'll use that one, obviously, for the stream because we want the best. And we had, in order to make it work for the setup we have with the cameras and the switcher and everything, we needed to put some extra capture cards into the into the computer, because usually it only has to capture a few things, and in this case we had to change what it was needed to be able to capture, and that opened up a whole other can of problems that should not have existed. I put one capture card in to the computer, booted it back up, and the computer was like, so I don't see anything. And it was a Blackmagic intensity card. This is not dump on Blackmagic time. This was a weird thing. Like, we use this card other places and it works fine. But I put this into this computer and it was like, no, I don't see anything. And you go, it's like, really? Like, check device manager. Nope, there's nothing installed. It just, as if that card was not plugged in.
Like upon plugging it in, it burnt the card out, which must have given you a heart attack.
Yeah. I was concerned because I had put a different card. I had a different card in it before, and or I had another Blackmagic intensity card in it before, and it hadn't been working, and so I had assumed that card was just something had happened to it. And then I put this other card that I knew worked into it, and the same thing happened. And I was like, "Oh crap!"
Dead Rekka.
10 desert bucks.
Yep. 10 desert bucks.
Woo!
Yeah. Dead Rekka. Asking, didn't you say you weren't going to do it in the MoonBase? Specifically this MoonBase? The only reason that we were able to do it in the MoonBase this year is because we got additional space. So we have the MoonBase, and we have this room, and we have Studio B, which is where engineering is, and we have the hangout area, or the friend zone, which is actually generally pretty quiet. And then we have a whole other space, an unrented space in the same building. That is where we're eating, it is where we're hanging out, it is where all the prize mines are, it is what allows us to do DesertBus here at the MoonBase this year.
Yeah. So that's
otherwise,
kind of our lunar module.
Otherwise, no, we would not have had the space to do DesertBus here. 100%.
There does seem to be a reasonably good chance that space will be rented next time. So, we'll see what happens.
There is very likely that this is the 1 year we were able to come back and do it at the MoonBase, and might have to leave again next year.
Yeah.
But we'll find out next year.
Part of the reason for that is because the we do have offices that are not going used, but those offices are Studio A, where we do our video game streaming, and tearing that down to make room for the prize mines would not work.
Nope.
And then we would have Production A, which is another place where tearing that apart is not a great idea.
Well, also, these rooms are basically storage at this point.
Yeah.
And the Production B is actually being used by the communications team. Nice. That boy. Got that bus stop.
I know, right?
Bus stop.
Nice.
Just on that 10 desert bucks.
Yeah,
That's good.
Gotta get it. So.
And then the final thing I wanted to do from a technical thing which was an amazing not an amazing, but a problem that I had never seen before. So we had this one card and it caused problems. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I have another, over the years that we've been streaming here, we have accumulated a variety of captured cards. So I have another capture card, an Avermedia card. So it's not a Black Magic card. And so I put that, I was like, okay, I'll put this one in. I put it in. The computer doesn't boot at all. Like, I turn the computer on and it's just...
No post.
Well, I don't know if it posts because computers don't have...
The readouts anymore, yeah.
They don't have speakers in them anymore. But I turn it on and, like, the screen doesn't turn on. Nothing happens. And I'm like, oh, crap. And so I pull the card out and turn it on again. The computer boots up and just goes to, just boots up normally, except it pauses at the opening thing and says, your attempt to overclock the processor has failed. Please enter the BIOS. And so I, entered the BIOS and, it hadn't been set to overclock.
Sure.
And I, just exited and restarted and the computer starts up fine. So somehow inserting this card made the computer think that it was trying to be overclocked and then didn't want to do that, which is probably for the best. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and of course these two cards, so I was like, oh crap, what are we going to do? Oh, I'll put these two cards back in the computer that they were previously in, which I did, and they worked totally fine, and that's what we're streaming on.
And to be fair, it probably wasn't that the Avermedia card was trying to overclock the CPU. It's probably that the video BIOS on that card and the video BIOS or whatever might be built in the UEFI on the machine were probably having a fight over some sort of resource.
Yeah.
That would make the most sense as to why it would... And then the UEFI is kind of like, throw this error message up because it's probably what was going on here.
So
like it's like this tracks with what we'd see, so this kind of error message.
Anyway, it was silly, but we got it figured out. But that's why some of those issues that we encountered is why especially I think things are pretty good right now. But in the first couple days of DesertBus, there was a few glitches in like the overlay and things like that because we were like, oh right, that part, we should work on that too. But thanks to Ian and Corey and Fugi working behind the scenes, they were able to not only fix the overlay, but add all the important features, like making it sound like a chicken.
That is an overlay specific thing. They had to come with a whole new object class. They had to write a whole bunch of Java.
Well, it's like the overlay is in a we have a repo for it, and it's one that I'm subscribed to because I did a bunch of work on it as well, and so it's great because I'll come in the morning, or I'll wake up in the morning and check my email and it'll be like there's been a check-in, from Corey, and the description of the check-in will be like added chicken sounds, and it'll be like, oh good, I'm glad. No, I'm glad that was added, and I'm glad that it was well documented.
Yes.
To be it's good to have a informative check-in message. For all those out there in version control.
Yeah.
Make sure your check-in messages are good.
Make sure your chicken messages are good?
That too.
Okay.
That too. Especially your chicken check-in messages. That's the most important thing.
Those are always the most important.